Hi guys, I'd like an opinion of a few things really. Easiest way to do it is to actually video it rather than try and write it down. I think the best scribe in the English language would have struggled with trying to put this over as I meant to. I've had a breakage on my lathe, what can be described as a stress fracture really. So I'll show you. So this is the top slide, you can see, and then it sits into this plate here, which involves for the rotation of the top slide. Now, if it'll snap into focus, I know it's difficult snapping into focus at such close distances, but come on, you rascal! Yeah, I think it's there. You can see a fracture running through there. It goes from the top. It's not so bad at the moment because there's no stress on it. But when it was in tooling under load, it would open up a little bit more than it has been. I only just noticed it, and then that would sit in there through the hole through there. Sorry, that way, and then an Allen key would go through there and tie it in to the angle of the top slide as thus, and there's one on this side as well. Obviously it's had an issue at some time, and I know what I'll give you some ideas of what the issues have been, but this was the ultimate decision to get me to change my tool post, because I think my tool post might have been the problem that I've mentioned. Also, what it's done slightly is the holes where it sits into, right, with it rising up, has ovaled those out slightly. So the first thought was, well, I've got a mate of mine who's a welder in the nuclear industry and is a really very handy welder, as we're all grateful that they are. But I thought, well, he could repair it. I thought, well, it'd always be a weak point, and it'd never look right as good as he is. And then I phoned Boxford to see if they still did these spares. They do still do the spares for this one, and I managed to get one off them. There's another. There's also the 4 bolts that go on the side there. There's a drift that goes down, and 2 of them. One there, and they go down into holes that match up there to keep everything secure. Now, as I say, a repair was an option, but although the new plate wasn't cheap, it wasn't astronomical either. So that's what I've got to do is basically put a new one in. But what's caused it is the main question. I don't suppose we'll ever know. There's 2 things really. The tool post that I had on before was a nasty Far Eastern one, and I was going to change it anyway, but noticing this speeded up my the decision on this, that I had to do it. Well, actually, while I got the camera out and the old tool post on the bench, I'll show you what I've discovered with that. But basically, the tool holder on the other one, not this one, would come loose, and the tool could then rock. So what would happen is then the tool would then go low and get dragged in or snap and whatever. Worst off on parting. That was a nightmare. I gave up with that in the end. But also, when I first got the lathe, I noticed on the tailstock these marks here, and it was always poor, could never figure it out. And then it finally dawned on me one day that the marks matched up perfectly to the backside of there, and that there would have matched up perfectly to the backside of the handle on the top slide. So I figured that somebody at some point, because it did come out of a school, this had run the tailstock in reverse, not the tailstock, the carriage into reverse, into the tailstock. Also, I noticed, not a great deal, but the plate was ever so slightly twisted out, just nowhere near as much as that, but just the width of an axe cock, really, not very much at all, but it was there. That I had noticed it, so I figured that I didn't think so much about it. So whether it was done, the initial stress was done and weakened when that incident happened. I've also put a new chuck on this since I got it, and the tool had obviously been run into the chuck on a number of occasions, putting stress on these, because obviously what happened is put stress that they would then rise. So that I don't know whether it was that, or for a while I played with an inverted parting tool, which you run the lathe in reverse, and looking at the construction of this now is that would then give pressure upwards that way, which would then normally be fine probably, but with that bad tool post, it was then coming loose, riding into the work, and then over the top, and everything would go south. Likewise, under the normal parting off tool, it would drop underneath, and in half a heartbeat, quicker than I could react anyway, things would go south in a very dramatic way, because as it got snatched and dragged in, which would account for perhaps some snatching load on that. I don't know. So whether it's previous or whether it's me, but I have had a nightmare with parting off, partly through to my lack of experience, I would think. Also because I'm not, I believe parting off is part art, part science. But that's, so just curiosity is I'm asking, is what do you think has caused it? I'll give you another look at it, if it'll snap into focus again. Come on, you rascal. Yep, there it is. Fractured through there. Before I show the tool post, another thought that has occurred to me is I could get that very handy welding friend of mine to repair it, put the new one on, installed. I could also, I don't know whether this is a good idea or not, but you can also give your opinion, is to drill holes that way and get two more of these, I don't know if I put the other bit on, I'll use another one, two more of these this way and that way to give protection with it for the reverse. I don't know. Also, what is, if I moved the DRO scale slightly somewhere else, or another way of fixing it, that would actually line up with those four holes, and I could then just have a plate on there with a handy way for swapping over the tool slide, top slide rather, on the reverse side if ever needed. But I've never needed to so far, but I don't know how useful that would be, which is something else for you to think about. So opinions on that. Right, I'll just move on to this tool post while I've got the camera out. I'll explain what was happening on this rascal. It was locked up, obviously a lot tighter than I can do because I'm just doing it one-handed. It would be that, and everything would be nice. It should have been nice and solid. But what was happening was it was coming loose itself. I'll exaggerate it, but basically it was. I could sometimes see it doing that, even just on a normal turning. Never mind parting off. So that's, no matter what I tried, I couldn't cure that. So that was. This incident has been the final straw for me dumping this boy. In fairness, the tool holders themselves aren't bad. They're quite nicely made. The issue came from the actual tool post. I'll show if I can just take it to bits one-handed. I don't know if I can. Come on, you rascal. Yeah. Right. It's a cam type affair. Normally that would be a locked position there. and you can see there's a slight camming on it. That's not bad. You see there's a cam action on it. Now, I don't know whether you can see in this light at all, but the finish on this is absolutely shocking. Looks like a hedgehog's done it with blunt teeth. Come on, snap into focus, you naughty boy. That's not going to do it. In fact, you can just see there when I'm rotating there where it was mating up. That small area was mating up with the surface of the inside of here, which is also got a very, very, very poor finish on it. So that is it just wasn't suitable for what it was meant to do. A load of rubbish, but it's caused me a lot of heartache. Oops. Yeah, that nearly caused me a lot of heartache then, dropping my camera. But yeah, it's caused by cheap by twice, as they say. But that is has been the issue for that. Is basically the tool holder coming loose and causing not a good situation. Let's put it that way. It was never going to end well. So back over to here. Views and opinions on what you see and what you think. More likely, importantly, it's not going to make a difference. It's not going to make it better. But just out of curiosity more than anything, guys, might be an interesting topic of conversation. Cheers, bye. Just as a little follow-on, guys, and I've fitted the other one. This is perfectly flush with the carriage, the cross slide of the carriage. Whereas before, it wouldn't have been. Obviously, I'm exaggerating here. It would have been out at an angle, but the new one's gone on, spot on, perfectly flush. Which leads me to believe that it won't have done it any good when it was run into the tailstock before I had it. I must add that. Might have done other things, but I didn't do that. Cheers, guys, again.